Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Story with Gorte. Today, we be reading Chapter 5 of The Scarlet Rose. To recap, Chapter 4, Misty, Meldrin, and Lazarus went to Grimdall. They saved the elf, who we found out her name is Kalik. Misty spent the night in the city while Meldrin and Lazarus left. As Misty went to go talk to Vindros, Vindros offered her to go speak to the king. The two went to go speak to the king, and then all hell broke loose, and the demons and orcs attacked, and then the city was in ruins. Vindros told Misty to go to Pandemonium. Kalik came back and helped out to see how many she can kill. To try to save people, but they were overrun, so Misty and Kalik are now heading over to Pandemonium. So we are on Chapter 5, so let us continue. Meldrin and Lazarus reached the throne room of the capital, Corridal, the kingdom of Corhall. There they saw their father, a tall man, dark in skin color, wearing a long blue robe laced with golden ribbon. His hair was parted into a ponytail, while the rest hung down his back. He smiled at the two. "Well, if it isn't my sons." He stood from his throne with open arms. Meldrin and Lazarus went in for the hug. "Sorry we're late. We had a lot to do," Meldrin said. Their father laughed. "It's all right. I'm glad you're home." "Dad, yesterday we got to explore a ruin and eat lots of food and—" Meldrin cut him off. "And we were traveling with Misty." "How is she?" the king asked. "She is well. Been working a lot on her alchemy techniques." "I learned how to use a healing potion properly," Lazarus said. The king raised a brow. "You just drink them, right?" Meldrin and Lazarus glanced at one another and laughed. "What's so funny?" "Greetings, King Darren Dranthel," a voice echoed in the room. The three glanced at the door to see a woman with long brown hair wearing a black robe. "Aren't you—" Meldrin's voice trailed off. "Mikora of the Grand Council," the king spoke. "What is the special occasion that you grace us with your presence?" She smiled. "I am only here to talk. I know your boys have been with Misty recently, and she never returned on her mission, so I thought I'd come here to see what she found from your sons." Meldrin shot eyes to Lazarus and the king. "We found nothing," his voice low. "The ruins were empty." Mikora narrowed her eyes. "I see." Her gaze fell to Lazarus, who shook nervously. "What's wrong with the boy?" "You dare come here and interrogate my children?" "You can see yourself out." "No, I don't think so. You see, a ward was triggered near that ruins. Something with great power was there." "And you accuse my sons? What about your daughter?" Mikora grinned. "My daughter? Don't make me laugh. Misty is nothing to me. She was never my You take that back!" Meldrin shouted. "Misty has been working so hard, she doesn't need—" "Save your boar prattling." Mikora stepped forward. "Tell me what you found there." "An orb!" Lazarus shouted. "Lazarus, no! A holy orb. I communicated with it, and it exploded." I never thought you could wield such power, especially holy at a young age." Mikora nodded at her head. "I will be taking your son." The king pulled out his sword from its sheath and stepped forward. "Over my dead body, you will never take my sons. Don't make this easy for me." Mikora shot her hand forward, firing a fireball at the king. He jumped forward, shielding his sons with his sword and blocking the spell. She charged him, a dagger sliding from her robe. The two collided blades. She kicked him behind the knee, making him fall to one. He shoved her with his sword, making her stumble back. The king charged, swinging his blade. Makora parried it, but missed the second swing that ripped open her robe from the shoulder. Black blood oozed from the wound. King Dranthel noticed the wound and blood. "You're not..." His eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" Makora smiled and shot her hand forward. A black beam erupted from her hand, engulfing the king in it. "Dad!" Meldrin shouted as he charged forth. He took out his blade only to have himself be pushed back by a powerful force. It knocked him against the wall. His body fell limp to the ground. "Your son will be mine, King Dranthel, and no one will stop me." "No!" Lazarus shouted as he thrust his hand out. A holy beam of energy exploded in the room, stopping Makora's incantation. The king was free from her grasp. He glanced at Lazarus to see his eyes glowing gold, and the holy light that wrapped around him like a ribbon. King Dranthel smiled and picked up his sword. He ran at Makora, blade ready to strike. The king saw black smoke surround her as she vanished. As he swung, the blade went through the smoke. "What?" he whispered. He felt a cold breath behind him. "Never underestimate me." He felt the warmth of blood in his robes, only to see the dagger within him. She ripped it out and turned her attention to Lazarus. "Come with me, child," she said as the body of the king hit the ground. "Your destiny awaits." She grabbed hold of Lazarus as he struggled to break free. She swirled her hand and teleported them out of the throne room. King Dranthel looked at his son. "Meldrin, you need to wake up." He crawled to him. "You can't die here. You must..." He coughed up blood. "You need to find your brother." The king closed the distance between him and Meldrin, touching his hand. "In the name of the Titans, please wake up. Korzel, Trakvar, Drenthak, Lakel." The king's hand glowed with magic. He drew 2 lines on Meldrin's forehead and 2 dots below it. He grabbed his son's hands. "You need to fulfill the reason why you live. You can't die. Thel Narlaka, Tor Mikor." The king's body dematerialized. The magic hovered over his son before it absorbed into him. The sound of a crown shattering on the stone ground echoed through the chamber. And that is the end of chapter 5. So we got to see what was happening with Meldrin and Lazarus. So yeah, that was probably one of my favorite chapters to write because it kind of stepped away from the main story and kind of talked about Lazarus and Meldrin, even though it wasn't in great detail, but just to kind of see what was happening in the time that Misty was in Grimdall. So that was very exciting to write. And you're probably wondering, like, what were the weird phrases that I was saying, like Korzel, Trakvar. It's an ancient language that the king knows, and obviously it did something since magic was absorbed into Meldrin. So, yeah, that is it. That is chapter 5. Thank you all so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And remember to be the best you can be, and I will see you all in chapter 6. Bye!